You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Welcome back to another edition of 21 Questions brought to you by Macadoodles. This is the KC Sports Network question and answer show that you guys ask us questions. We answer them about sports, about music, food, life, anything you possibly could want. Like I said, this is brought to you by Macadoodles. This is where the great one, Craig Stout, the Renaissance man himself, gets all of his wine, his beer, and his spirits needs met. Is only at Macadoodles. It's the only place they can do it because they have top-notch service, top-notch selection, and it's there every single trip. So make sure you check them out. They are now open in Lee Summit. So hopefully there's one near you. Jordan, first of all, I'm joined by the Bigfoot himself. This is also the entire time, Jordan, I gotta let you know this. The entire time KCSN has been going, I have never once introed or hosted 21 Questions. No matter who is with me, they have always been the host. This is my first time introing it and hosting it. So, buddy, you're in for a ride. But how are you doing?
I'm good, man. And you did a pretty darn good job. It's almost like you had, a little something in your head already that you were going to say about Macadoodles.
No chance I typed it up. There's no chance I typed up notes right before we started, so I knew what I was going to say.
Yeah, no, that was all off the dome. And that's kind of what this podcast is, man. It's really fun. I think my first KCSN podcast was a 21 Questions with Tucker. And it was great, obviously. Then I did one with Joel. So I think this is number 3 for me on 21 Questions.
See, this is a peek behind the curtain here. We didn't get that. Okay, first of all, thank you guys all for sending in questions. We are taking all of these from the KCSN Discord. If you are a subscriber to the KCSN Substack, kcsn.substack.com, you should get an invite to the KCSN Discord server. Twitter was on the fritz for a minute, and even now, Twitter's kind of a scary place. You want to just come hang out with Chiefs fans, talk about things that you love, sports, family, other sports, more family, friends, whatever it is. We have a Discord. It's set up to where you don't have to deal with, the rigmaroles of other social media stuff. So if you just want to come hang out, subscribe, you get invited to the Discord. And then once a week, you guys can ask us any questions you want. We answer it. We're pulling all these from 21 Questions. Like I said, we don't have a ton of questions this week. So, we're going to banter here for a minute, but then it'll be a shorter version. I did want to say though, real quick, it's been a while since I've been on 21 Questions because we record these late at night. I had to ask Jordan to join me earlier in the day so I don't have to stay up until midnight to record one of these based on just how everyone's schedule goes. So, I'm happy to be back, guys.
Yeah, no, it's good. And even for me, like after we record and then I edit these, I'm like, man, this is really because you have like the live lab right beforehand.
Yes.
Then you do 21 Questions. You're like, man, Maddie, on those nights, you're pulling double time, but it feels like triple time, I bet. Because I mean, you have kids and everything to run around with too.
Again, behind the scenes, we also write a little game preview on the Substack that comes out Friday mornings, and that takes a little bit of film watching from the upcoming opponent. Thursday's a busy day for me, but enough about this. Let's get started. I'm going to attempt to pull the questions again, first time. Mike Denny asks, is Patrick Mahomes a greater KC sports influence than George Brett? Who else would be the contenders for the top all time?
I think it's got to be, right? I mean, he's brought the championship back, and I don't know. I wasn't alive for the George Brett, like big time. I'm not trying to date anybody on here, or like Len Dawson
too. So let's not.
Yeah. So me and Maddie are the youngsters. I guess Tuck can be thrown in there too. Kent and Craig can't really. They're catching strays, man. Everybody's catching strays on 21. Yeah, I think it's got to be Patrick Mahomes, right?
I think so. I mean, Yes. I was very young when George Brett's highest of his influence was still there. I honestly don't know when George Brett stopped playing baseball, so I don't know how old I was. Yep. But I don't think it was the same. And the era of social media and stuff like that helped. I mean, the man brought a Whataburger to Kansas City. Single-handedly brought a fast food chain restaurant to Kansas City. I don't think that's happened. So during my lifetime, 100% him. I would say Bo Jackson's got to be kind of a close would be my number 2, just because everybody knew who he was. I mean, literally there was a national campaign that was just Bo knows, and every single person in the world, sports fan or not, knew what that meant. So maybe Bo Jackson, and that's kind of harsh because, we're split between Kansas City and the Raiders, but he would be my only other option I can think of.
Yeah, and Derek Thomas is up there, like, in terms of being
Yeah.
in a conversation for, like, a top 5 maybe, but obviously, Mahomes and Brett, football, trumps baseball, and Mahomes just he brought Whataburger to KC. Like, that's a really, really big deal.
It is. Yeah. So I think we got Mahomes, Bo Jackson, George Brett. They can probably take a 2, 3, and Derek Thomas is a good one to be in there. I think so, actually. Heck, Andy Reid. Andy Reid might be pulling up
Yeah.
in the top 5 too. Actually, I don't mind that. All right. I've seen some. This is from Grayson Jasper. We had a lot of Grayson questions. Thank you, because we did not get that many questions this week. So I've seen some people saying to bring Colquitt into hold, assuming a practice squad elevation. Do you think that's a possibility? Consider how that would affect the chemistry dynamic in that room and Tommy's confidence. For me, no. Specialists aren't real people. Quit adding more of them. We don't need more Caspers out there that do nothing but one job, then they still fail at it. That's only half joking. I don't think you should mess with it. If this is becoming that big of an issue, then you just need to can Tommy and have Dustin Colquitt come punt and hold if it's that big of a deal. If it's not that big and you can talk to your 2 kickers to figure that out, make it work. I mean, like, I don't think you have the ability to roster 2 punters plus a kicker plus a long snapper plus special teams only players going into the playoffs.
Yeah, the Chiefs and Uncle Dave already have enough control over certain roster spots for special teamers, and obviously you need a kicker, you need a punter, you need a long snapper. You need someone to hold. At this point in the season, no. Like, if it was earlier in the year and it was very obvious that he wasn't doing the job, maybe you revisit not just Colquitt, but somebody else, or you revisit having somebody else who's already on the team do the job. Then you add in like I don't want to say public shaming of Tommy Townsend, but like the public, he's not doing it right element of it. I just don't think it's a good idea. Like, in a vacuum, it makes a little bit of sense, but in reality, it would be pretty rough.
I've never held. I can only imagine, since it's such like a not minor, but like such a detail oriented job, that as soon as you're starting to question how you're holding, you can miss your spot by a half an inch. You
Yeah.
can have the ball slightly under or over rotated really, really easy just because your confidence is being called into question. I mean, that's just my feel on the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right. Grayson again. What is your definition of a rebuild? Can a team in a rebuild year be good? Do you consider rehauling the whole secondary and wide receiver a rebuild regardless of the draft capital and cap moving forward? Mostly for me. Well, I'm going to let Jordan answer it first, and I'll come back in and back clean up on this one.
I was hoping you would take it and I'd back clean up, but I can handle some of this. I think I'm going to skip to the second question. Can a team in a rebuild year be good? Now, heading into the season, and I think people are kind of shifting it now, and I think we've talked about, like, when did it go from a rebuild retool year to, oh, you have to win the Super Bowl? Like, heading into the season, everybody was saying this is kind of a soft reset, a soft rebuild year for the Chiefs. And everyone's like, okay, that's fine. Now, in a rebuild year, can you be good? I think you can. Like, Jacksonville's still technically rebuilding, and I'd say they're close to being good. I think the Chiefs are in a very soft rebuild year. They are a good team. Seattle, they obviously aren't good, but they are a solid team. So I guess it depends on your definition of good. In a rebuild, though, you've got to, like, is step one admitting the problem and using that word? I mean, we've seen franchises like the Royals in baseball who don't use the word, but obviously are. But most of the time, you have to, I don't want to say tank, I don't want to say firmly commit, but it's pretty obvious when teams are rebuilding and when teams aren't. And I think rebuilding the wide receiver group, rebuilding the secondary, that's not extremely common for contending teams to do in one offseason. The Chiefs are just in a different realm, I think, in terms of doing that. But that's a long-winded way of saying I really don't know what a rebuild is.
Okay. So for a rebuild for me, I think there has to be a known and expected or almost purposeful down year. Like, the team
Mhm.
has to be purposely not as good as it can be in order to get better in the future. And that still sounds broad, because you could argue that the Chiefs this year are rebuilding because they purposefully were not spending every ounce they could to be as good as they can next year. But I think it has to be a little bit worse now. Like, you have to not
Yeah.
be a highly competitive team to be rebuilding. I also think it has to involve shakeups to the core of the team. And I guess you could argue that Tyreek Hill was part of the core of the team, but I don't know. I'm watching this year, and I mean, the core of the team was Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. And
Mhm.
I get it. Tyreek Hill was great and he meant so much to the team. I'm not trying to say he didn't. I just don't know, just seeing how this team is operating without Tyreek Hill, that I buy in that he was part of the core and he wasn't just the best accessory piece to a team in the NFL. And that's not a shame. That's not a bad thing. It's just, look at the offense. They're still the best in the league. How can I make the case that he was a core piece? So
Mhm.
I don't think the Chiefs have lost a core piece yet. They have not purposely changed over any of the core. I call what the Chiefs are doing retooling. They have
Yep.
rebuilt. They have, turned over their entire secondary wide receiver room, but nobody they got rid of in the process, in my opinion, is part of the core. And like the Tyreek Hill thing makes it iffy. And I get it, but Mahomes is here. It makes it an interesting situation because I don't know if you can ever truly rebuild with Patrick Mahomes. Just like the Patriots never rebuilt with Tom Brady, except for when he was hurt. That's the only time they had a down year. I don't know if they ever rebuilt. They just kept building new pieces around him, and the core of that team, which was, just Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, stayed intact the entire time. But I don't know if they ever rebuilt. At least that's my take on it.
Well, and two quick things off of that. One, New England went like 10-6 that year that Brady was hurt, so they still had a really, 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 really good team.
We know what that led to.
That's true.
Our guy, Matt Castle.
Yes. And two, Chris Jones would be, if they traded him or if they eventually let him go, I would consider him part of the core. Before the season, I was like kind of in that Tyreek Hill boat. Given how many other pieces on defense there aren't, I would say if they lost him, that would make for a core loss. Still not a rebuild, obviously, but then you're kind of questioning, okay, is that core getting shaken up a little bit? When in reality, the core, like the core of the core, is Mahomes, Andy Reid, and then I guess you could say Travis Kelce too.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. Grayson, when do we get a draft show? Grayson, I ask myself that every single day.
Every day.
I got to get a hold of BJ. I got to figure out when this thing's kicking off. We might have some fun stuff planned for that. Yeah, we're getting deep into the process. Mike Denny also says yes, because we know Matty checked out of the regular season after week 13. Buddy, you think I made it to week 13? You got another thing coming. The moment I saw the Chiefs play the Bills, I said, yep, they're going to play again in the playoffs. Please fast forward. Okay. Lee 87. Please list the farm animal you would most like to see Matty add to his collection. Oh, Jordan, this is for you now.
I struggled with this one, man. So you have cattle, right?
No, I don't have cattle. I don't have cows. I have goats.
Okay. How about, so you have pigs out there, right?
I do have pigs.
Okay, you have goats.
Goats, pigs, chickens, ducks. Dogs.
Do you have like a farm cat out there?
I have a lot of cats.
Okay. How about, is a buffalo a farm animal?
Is a buffalo?
Think about it though. We're going to do a live lookup. I'm going to Google it. But what if Google says yes? It just doesn't feel like a farm animal.
I think a buffalo is like a ranch animal. I feel like there's a gap between farm and ranch here. And maybe I'm just speaking out of turn, but like, I don't know about having a buffalo. Like, I feel like if you're going to go buffalo, just say a cow. Like, right.
Yeah.
Or even, I mean, that's my thoughts on it. But if you want me to have a buffalo, like I can put it in the queue.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah. And I looked it up and like there were a couple lists with buffalo on it, but like it doesn't specify that it's a farm animal. It's like you could put it on a farm, doesn't make it a farm animal.
Yeah. So, we're probably doing sheep next. Sheep's probably, we'll get turkeys again in the spring. So we will have some turkeys but then with sheep is the next new addition that we haven't had before. Sheep are coming. So that's next on Maddie's list. But I don't know if anybody wants me to have sheep. Like they're kind of just chilling. Okay. Grayson asked for our thoughts on the Bills-Bengals game prior to the horrific incident. Do you have any takes on the game before that happened?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember any, but like, I thought Joe Burrow was dealing on that one drive, and I think he went like 3 for 3 or something. The touchdown throw was nice, but like, man, I didn't have any thoughts on it. And that happened in the first quarter, right? Towards the tail end of it.
Yeah, I think there was like 5 minutes left.
Okay.
5 and 6 minutes left. It was too early for me to have a takeaway. Both teams had one possession, both moved the ball. One ended in 7, one ended in 3, but it kind of also involved the drop. So like, I didn't have any takes on the game. And then like, kind of like Jordan said, I don't remember everything that was happening because of what happened after. Like, it's really hard to go back and like remember what happened beforehand. I just remember the basic score. So it was too early to tell what happened, I think, for me.
Mhm.
From Joel Pinfield, how much money would it take for you to be on the receiving end of a block from a pulling Trey Smith?
That's tough, man.
Ooh.
I personally, I don't have much shame, so not a lot, but still, like,
Yeah.
are we stationary? Are we on the move? Like, do we get to brace for it? I'm gonna let that be at your discretion, Maddie.
Right. So it just says on the receiving end of a receiving end of a block from a pulling Trey Smith. And like, I mean, like, here's the thing. If I can just commit the penalty and go low, like if I can just
Exactly.
chop him down on the pull, actually, we're in the box. I don't think that's a penalty anymore. Like if I can just go low and like handle the 335 pounds dropping on me, like it's gonna not feel great, but I can survive that. Been there, done that. Like, so it wouldn't take that much money. And you know, like it would
Give me a
suck, but
dollar
it'd be
amount.
fun.
Give me a dollar amount.
A dollar amount. Okay, like, do I get to try to take? Do I get to try to avoid the block, or do I just kind of have to like take it?
Let's just say you just take it.
I just gotta take it. Just gotta like.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, if I'm fully padded up. He's coming around. He's trying to take me out. But as long as I can like attempt to brace myself and just get absolutely flattened, like you can throw me. You know what? You can just throw me like a nice dinner with Trey Smith afterwards, and I'd probably let him do it. If he'd take me out, if he would
Really?
treat me to a nice dinner, and I got to hang out with him afterwards, yeah, I think I would.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say
think I would.
5 Gs, and like you can get a really, 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 really nice dinner with like a nice one of those rookie dinner
Yeah.
type things for 5 Gs.
Nah.
But
See,
I'm saying it wouldn't
I
take
just
a
rather
lot.
hang out with them. At that point, I'd
Yeah.
rather just hang out with them and like, be like, okay, you just like punctured my lung, but like as long as I'm alive still, we can go eat, I think is where we're at.